Math Blast Week 30, Fraction Addition and Subtraction Word Problems. List 3 equivalent fractions for the given number. Well, I know equivalent means equal, and so in order to come up with an equal fraction, I'm going to multiply my fraction by a form of 1. I can take 2/5 and multiply it by 2/2. This 2/2 is a form of 1, and we know the identity property of multiplication says anytime I multiply something by 1 or a form of 1, I'm going to get what I started with. Just might be written in a different way. So 2/5 times 2/2 is 4/10. I might take that 2/5 and multiply it by 3/3. That would give me 6/15. If I take my 2/5 and multiply it by 4/4, I would get 8/20. And so here are my 3 fractions that are equivalent to 2/5. In an election, candidate Johnson received 2/9 of the votes. Candidate Smith earned 5/18 of the vote, and candidate Dragovic earned 1/2 of the votes. What is the difference in votes received by Dragovic and Johnson? Well, I know that Dragovic earned 1/2 of the votes. Johnson earned 2/9 of the votes. And I want to find what is the differences in the votes. So I'm going to subtract these two. Now, I know that I can't subtract unlike units. So I'm going to change my units to 18ths. And I know that in order to make halves 18ths, I have to multiply by 9/9 here. Again, this is a form of 1, which lets us say that 1/2 is equal or equivalent to 9/18. And in order to turn 9ths into 18ths, I'll have to multiply by 2/2. Again, 2/2 is a form of 1, which allows me to say that 2/9 is equal to 4/18. And now I can subtract 9/18 minus 4/18 is 5/18. Real world coordinate grid. Label the X and Y axis. Well, this is the X axis and this is the Y axis. To get from Johnny's house to the library, he must travel 3 units left and 7 units down. Plot and label a point to show where Johnny's house is on the map. So I'm going to start at the library here. Now, keep in mind it says to get from Johnny's to the library. We're going from the library to Johnny's, so I'm going to need to go backwards. Instead of going 3 units left, I'm going to go 3 units right. 1, 2, 3. It puts me here at 6 on the x-axis. And now I'm going to go, instead of down 7 units, I'll go up 7 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That puts me here at this point, 6, 7. So Johnny's house is at 6, 7. Go over 6 on the x-axis and then up 7 on the y-axis. The school is located at 6, 9. I go over 6 and then climb up 9. And the library is located at 3, 0. We go over 3 and up 0. On the back side, multiplying fractions and mixed numbers. Evie's class collected 9 pounds of food for the food drive. Paco's class collected 1 1/5 times as much food as Evie's class. How many pounds of food did Paco's class collect? So in this case here, I know that we have Evie, and her class collected 9 pounds of food. And then we have Paco, whose class collected 1 1/5 times as much as Evie's. So 1 1/5 times those 9 pounds. So I'm going to say I could either go 1 1/5 can change to 4. Well, 1 whole is 5/5 plus another 5th would be 6/5. And I can multiply that by 9. And I know 6/5 times 9 is just repeated addition of 6/5. It's going to be 6/5 repeatedly added 9 times. And so that would be 54/5. Now, keep in mind 54/5 is greater than 1 whole. And so I can pull out, I could say, hey, that's like 54 divided by 5. If I want to pull out 5/5 every whole, I could pull out 10 wholes. I can pull out 5/5 10 times. That's 50/5. And that would leave me, that would leave me with 4/5 of another whole. So Paco's class collected 10 4/5 pounds of food. Now, the other way we could have solved that too is I could have said, well, I know that 1 times 9 is 9, and 1/5 times 9 is 9/5, which is a whole. That gives us that 10 wholes and 4/5 more towards another whole. So we could have used the distributive property there. Either way works. Dividing fractions, 1 divided by 1/4. So I'm going to represent 1 whole here, and I want to divide that by 1/4. And so I'm going to break my whole into fourths, 4 equal parts. And right here represents 1/4. So now if I think about this in terms of division and I say, well, my whole is 1 and the size of my groups is 1/4, how many groups can I get there? I can see that I would be able to get 4 groups. 4 groups of 1/4 is equal to 1 whole. So 1 divided by 1/4 is 4. For B, 1/5 divided by 3. I'm going to model 1/5. So let me draw a hole here and break that into the units of fifths, 5 equal parts. And here I can see that I represent 1/5. And now I want to divide that by 3. So I'm going to break that into 3 groups. And I'm going to put some dotted lines horizontally here to show that I'm breaking my 5th into 3 equal groups. And so now my question is, what's the size of one of these groups here? And I can see that that would be 1/15 of the entire diagram there. So 1/5 divided by 3 is equal to 1/15. What is volume? Well, volume is the amount a 3D figure contains. So many times we think of volume in terms of liquids, and we talk about the capacity that a container holds. And it can be the same idea with a box as well. And so we see here to the right a rectangular prism there. It says, fill in the blanks to make this statement true. There are blank cubic units in the box. Therefore, the volume of the box is blank. So we can count up all of the little cubes there, and we would see that there is 6 cubes on this front layer, and then I have 6 cubes on each of the layers behind there. So 6, 12, 18, 24. I can say there's 24 cubic units in the box. Therefore, the volume of the box is 24 units cubed. Volume is always going to be in cubic units. Show your work using the formula. Well, I can say that volume I know is equal to the area of the base times the height. And the base is rectangular. And we know that we can find the area of a rectangular base by taking the length times the width. Now keep in mind we still have to multiply by the height here. And so now if I fill in the numbers that are specific to this prism given to us, the volume would be equal to a length of 3 units, a width of 4 units, and a height of 2 units. And so 3 times 4 is 12, times 2 is 24. And units times units is squared, times units again would be units cubed to the 3rd power. So the volume is 24 units cubed. That's all for now, math friends.